Are a lot, and I mean a lot, of FNaF content creators out there. Majority of these people are either creating fan art, analog horror, or fan games, most notably. And there are a lot of good content creators out there to go along with some really solid analog horror videos, or some really good fan art, or even some really good games. Some of these games include Shadow Over Freddy's, Five Nights at Candy's, The Joy of Creation, lots and lots of games to go out there. But just because there's lots of great content related to fan stuff with Five Nights at Freddy's doesn't mean the creators are such good people. In fact, a lot of these creators have a lot of skeletons that they just can't seem to keep in the closet, whether it's greed, a big ego, or just some really disturbing and dark and twisted fantasies that they felt the need to share with the world. A lot of these creators are just not very good people. And while it doesn't show in their work, it does definitely leak out from their personal life onto social media. And that's what we're going to be talking to today. We have a long list of controversial FNaF creators out there. I had made a previous video about the most controversial games out there, but I didn't really tap into the creators as much as I should have. I'm going to make this entire video dedicated to the most controversial FNaF creators out there. I'm sure by now everybody has heard of Five Nights at Freddy's Plus, or FNaF Plus, whatever you want to call it. This was an entire remake of the original Five Nights at Freddy's game, and this was the most hyped FNaF fan game ever made. It was created by FNaF, who originally was making FNaF fan games, and his first game he ever released was called Open Source. Unfortunately for him, this resembled too much of the second Five Nights at Freddy's game, which was a big rule that Scott Cawthon had when it came to creating fan games, was they couldn't resemble his original work too much. Even though Scott took the game down, he was very intrigued by it, and even got in contact with FNaF on working on a new FNaF reboot titled FNaF Plus. An agreement was made and a video game was slowly in development not long after that. Not only did they develop an entire game, they were also going to kickstart FNaF Fanverse Initiative, which is basically Scott Cawthon's permission for different content creators to make their own fan-made FNaF games. The rest is history. Lots and lots of fan games have been made since then. However, years go by and we haven't seen anything for Five Nights at Freddy's Plus. We got plenty of teasers, plenty of posters, and even some analog horror videos that were related to it, but never got a release date, never got any gameplay footage, never got a word of anything from neither Scott Cawthon nor FNaF. While FNaF was in charge of the game majority, Scott Cawthon didn't really show how much he had behind the scenes, but his name was attached to it, felt like every single poster that was released. So Scott had some kind of involvement in it, but it was really just FNaF's baby. And every year goes by and we haven't heard anything. The announcement was made in August of 2020, and it wasn't until August of 2023 that we got some pretty big news about the game. That it was canceled. After all these years of waiting, all the hype surrounding it, what could have possibly have went wrong that completely removed the game from the Steam page and ultimately have FNaF completely removed from the project where he isn't even legally allowed to talk about anything related to it? Well, if we're going to get into that, we got to figure out exactly what FNaF is and what he was doing. So during the development of Five Nights at Freddy's Plus, FNaF was very quiet about it. He didn't like to talk about it very much in terms of gameplay, mechanics, or anything else, and anytime somebody would bring it up of when it would be released, it felt like he was more or less annoyed by the questions. And a lot of people speculated that the game was actually done a long time before it got canceled, and FNaF just wasn't releasing it just to be a prick to the rest of the world. But I don't believe that statement whatsoever, due to the fact that Scott Cawthon has ties to it and has his name pretty much all over everything surrounding it, so I don't think Scott would withhold anything from the fans if the game was actually done. But the truth of the matter is that FNaF was not a very good person to work with. It happened in July of 2023. There was an argument that went down on Twitter after FNaF had a live stream of Security Breach Ruin, a DLC pack for Security Breach. In this live stream, FNaF showed his distaste for the Five Nights at Freddy's current state with where Security Breach was at. And the fan base did not take very kindly to that. You see, Five Nights at Freddy's has a very passionate fan base who have very strong opinions related to each and every game. And because FNaF wasn't agreeing with them, that irritated a couple of fans. Eventually, some fans were being harassed with death threats and videos of stuff that shouldn't be shown on the internet, And it was all kind of tagged on over to FNaF. And whenever they asked FNaF for his opinion on what was going on, he didn't take it seriously at all. If anything, he considered it like it was a joke, which is very immature for a content creator who has a game that's hyped up as this to respond to something as childish as he did. And over the past couple of months, he had a very controversial opinions on the state of FNaF, and was all in all just a egotistical asshole. And a lot of people didn't really care for him very much. And eventually this all led up to his demise and his removal from Five Nights at Freddy's Plus. I'm guessing Scott Cawthon got wind of the fact that he was not being very well liked or not handling the public as well as he should have, and it looks like Scott maybe removed him from the game. FNaF made an entire video pretty much breaking down the entire situation. It's 38 minutes long. If you want to watch that video, just check it out on his YouTube channel. He gets into every little detail. I'm not going to get into every single detail, just the main part, the fact that he put a lot of egotistical comments out there and made himself as an asshole. And that's not something Scott Cawthon wants to work with, and that's not something that FNaF really wants to be seen as, but at this point, he doesn't really have much of a choice. He was removed from there, the game was removed from Steam, and it was ultimately canceled. To this day, we still have nothing related to Five Nights at Freddy's Plus, and we can't ask FNaF about it because he signed a contract where he legally cannot release any details or any information regarding Five Nights at Freddy's Plus. So right now as it stands, only Scott Cawthon, FNaF, and a handful of other people that I won't mention actually know what anything was about with the Five Nights at Freddy's Plus game. Now you may be asking yourself, well, if the game was canceled, how in the hell are YouTubers playing it, and why are there still new updates every single month, it feels like, for the Five Nights at Freddy's Plus game? Well, that's going to lead the way to another pretty controversial creator out there, this one being named LostPawPlay. If you're unfamiliar with him at this point in time, let me clue you in. After the cancellation, everybody was wondering why we were seeing Five Nights at Freddy's Plus game being released out there. And whenever you'd play the game, it seemed like a remake of the original FNaF game, except more polished and a little bit more lifelike. And people were enjoying the game. It got canceled, it came back, and got canceled again. It kept leaving, and then it kept coming back, which scratched a lot of people's heads as to why it kept getting updates and why it kept getting taken down. Eventually, some big-name FNaF YouTubers like 8-Bit Ryan and Dawko started joining in on the hype, and they started playing the game. But the FNaF Plus game didn't really get any hype until a YouTuber that goes by the name of Vludo uploaded this video where it got 3.4 million views. This video was so big, not only did it blow up on YouTube, but it also gave Vludo a huge fan attraction where he hit over 100,000 subscribers from what it feels like this video. But this video really put FNaF Plus on the map, which led people to ask the question, is this really FNaF Plus? It wasn't until a Twitter user by the name of Kane Carter came out and posted this. Is anyone else slightly weirded out by this FNaF Plus recreation being treated as if it was the real deal by big FNaF YouTubers? This game is 99% just a remake of FNaF 1. It uses AI to reconstruct Scott Cawthon's voice without permission. The dev is profiting from the game via donation links, and the game is missing some features from the publicly revealed FNaF Plus content. Don't get me wrong, the game isn't bad, especially for how quickly it was made, but it's not FNaF Plus. And I think it's very weird that the dev is profiting from the content that he did not come up with, and that YouTubers are just kind of lying. You can hate Phil, and you can wish FNaF Plus never happened, but this feels like a bit immoral. If this is somehow a searing hot Kane L take, then I'll just delete this. But I feel like I should say something. And Kane Carter isn't just some random Twitter user. He's a pretty well-known video game developer that was actually known to be friends with FNaF and actually helped FNaF in a couple other games. So him coming out and saying this definitely drew a lot of red flags. If this isn't the actual FNaF Plus game, then what is it that everybody is playing? Upon further investigation, a lot of fans led to believe that it was the creator LostPawPlay who ended up coming up with this game. Whenever he released a video titled I Made FNaF Plus, developed it in one day. And in here, he basically made the entire FNaF Plus game in his own little recreation. Now, like I said, this is not FNaF Plus. It is a fan-made version of what is believed to be FNaF Plus. The way he used this was he took some of the character designs from the promotion things, like the posters, the videos, and all that, and he put it into his own video game and made people believe that this was the actual FNaF Plus game. And you may be asking yourself, well, if Scott Cawthon takes down all the games that resemble too much of the original Five Nights at Freddy's, why didn't he take this one down? Well, he didn't upload it to GameJolt. Rather, he uploaded it to his Telegram page, which was taken down not long after he gotten caught. There was also some controversy and some drama surrounding this, where some people would download the game and install a virus onto their computers. That's a whole lot of drama, and I'm not going to get too deep into that. Eventually, Scott Cawthon got wind of this whole drama going down and decided to make a public post on Reddit. He said, "They say that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but I do not consider this to be true when people use AI or AI filters to duplicate someone else's voice without their consent. I feel that it is very disrespectful, and I don't want to hear it in fan games. That doesn't just go for my voice, but for any of my voice actors that I've used in the past. So for fan game developers out there, please be respectful of others and only use AI in this manner with someone else's content." This is basically Scott Cawthon saying that you can't replicate my voice using AI. Scott Cawthon is a person, and he's not a character in a video game. He's an actual person. So I can see where he may have taken offense from this. And any of his other voice actors that he had mentioned, if somebody made an AI version of that, that would also not be very fair, and I could see where they feel insulted from this. The biggest thing that LostPawPlay did here was numerous different things. Number one, he obviously used the fake AI to imitate Scott Cawthon's voice. And number two, he was basically stealing an idea from Scott Cawthon and FNaF and not even crediting either one of these two creators in the credits of his own video game, which is pretty messed up if you ask me. This wasn't even his idea or his character models or anything. The only thing that he made was parts of the game, and he was basically using it as his own. So he did that, and the biggest problem, in my opinion, was the fact that he was somehow making a profit off of this, which is a very messed up thing. It's basically pirating Scott Cawthon's original game. Kane Carter also came to Twitter to discuss that topic. He said, "Releasing this for free is already giving people a costless alternative to FNaF 1, which is a paid product. The gameplay is extraordinarily similar, that seems kind of risky by itself, and then interrogating a donation button for a recreation of what would have been another paid product featuring content, characters, names, and designs from an IP that you don't even own is even riskier. You are still profiting from a copyrighted content that you have no right to use." Which is absolutely correct. LostPawPlay had really no legs to stand on at this point and was really getting put in his place by a majority of those big known FNaF content creators out there. Not long after Scott Cawthon had made his statement, the big YouTubers that I had discussed earlier had either deleted those videos or changed the title to those videos. Dawko most notably went to Twitter and said this: "Hey guys, so Scott has kindly asked me to remove my FNaF Plus fan game videos, and I will of course respect that. Just wanted to make this clear before people wonder why my videos have been destroyed." 8-Bit Ryan went to quote on that and say, "In case anyone wonders why mine aren't public anymore, this is why." So Scott Cawthon generously asked them, "Can you please remove these videos?" And they greatly obliged, so that nobody would confuse this fan-made version of FNaF Plus to mistakenly be the actual FNaF Plus game. LostPawPlay turned to Twitter to pretty much back himself up and defend himself, where he said this: "Honestly, I didn't expect this game to be mistaken for the original. I just wanted to recreate the game, that's all. So yes, I agree with you. Although talking about donations, they are not forced. Any work has the right to be assessed, even with money." And while it does have a point right there, the fact that you were developing a game that was copyrighted has nothing to do with you, and still finding a way to make a profit off of it is just a really dirty move. Even though you didn't ask people for these donations, you still asked for it to begin with and associated it with a product that you honestly stole. So I could see Scott Cawthon and the rest of the fanverse out there being very, irritated with the situation. But the way he made up for his mistake was that if you wanted to play the original Five Nights at Freddy's Plus game, you were going to have to buy the original FNaF in the Steam store. With proof of purchase, you can download his FNaF Plus game, which I guess kinda fixes what he did, but not really, but it does kind of make things a little bit right. Kane Carter was not very pleased with this, where he came out and said that might not cut it. Even if FNaF Plus was canceled, it was going to be a paid product. Your game is a free copy of that product. Scott has outright said that making a game check for an original product does not fix the problem. LostPawPlay's last touches were he assumed that everybody didn't think it was the real game because he thought everybody knew that FNaF Plus was canceled That's a pretty lazy excuse for why you made this game, and I think he knows exactly why he made it. He wanted to make money, and he wanted people to believe that this was the actual FNaF Plus game, and he just didn't cover up his tracks as good as he should have. Shortly after this, LostPawPlay went on to make a poster that said hashtag goodbye FNaF Plus on a computer, and when you brighten up the image, there was some text on the left side that read a bunch of bullshit. What seems like an innocent little goodbye, woe is me, it actually feels like a mockery of Scott Cawthon's original teasers for all his games that he'd upload on his own website. Not long after that, he released an entire Google Doc titled Goodbye FNaF Plus, where he posts an entire paragraph that you are free to read on your own, and basically his way of saying goodbye, I'm done with this game. He would no longer be making any more updates, nor he would be working on the FNaF Plus game, and it was pretty much over with. However, this was not the last we have seen from him, as he was co-working with the return to Bloody Nights. So, while LostPawPlay is not active on FNaF Plus anymore, he is active in the Fanverse Initiative community, and is still looking to help with that. So even after all this hell that FNaF Plus has gone through, we still don't have a game for it yet, and we probably never will. That's honestly crazy. All the hell that the community has been through, that we're never going to get a game for this. And that really sucks, but it is what it is. We got to honor Scott and FizzNom's wishes. Now, this next topic is going to stray away from video games and is going to jump into analog horror, which is no stranger to the Five Nights at Freddy's community. Literally just look up FNaF analog horror videos, and you're going to find thousands upon thousands of very well done FNaF VHS tapes. There are some really solid ones out there, but the ones I want to look into the most are the ones that are created by Squimpus McGrimpus. If you haven't heard from him yet, Squimpus McGrimpus is most notably known for his videos titled Facial Recognition Testing, Fazbear Entertainment Video Manual, Night Security Training Video, etc. All these videos I just mentioned all have millions upon millions of views. But while these videos were spiking in popularity, so was Squimpus McGrimpus, and he had a very large audience to entertain, and unfortunately, he abused this privilege, and we're going to get into that in a second. It was an account named Burner Account that went to Twitter and posted this, where he basically tried to expose Squimpus McGrimpus for all the bad things that he did. In this confession that Squimpus wrote himself, he basically confessed to talking to a 14-year-old whenever he was 17 years old, stopped after he turned 18, relapsed in 2019 to 2020 before stopping again. In his mind, it was not sexual because there wasn't anything sexual happening, and it was all okay. He said, for a very long time, I didn't realize how much hurt I was doing. Now that I do, all I can say is that I'm willing to own up to my mistakes in any way that they can. A few people from the server came up and explained everything to me, and the fact that I did something really terrible is more clear than it has ever been. I apologize to everyone, and especially apologize to the person. I could sit here and say that I never wanted to hurt anymore, but I feel like doing this is more important than doing starts with this confession. Everyone who's been around me has a right to know. Blank and I were both groomed beforehand. I can't speak for him, but I had the lot of logic they used to stuck in my brain after my own groomer was gone. Some of it is still there, but I'm not going to unlearn it without consequences from it. I don't blame anybody for being upset with me, ever. Just know that I am actually working on myself and to stop these sort of things. While this post was not listed under Squimpus McGrimpus and under CEO Stupid, Squimpus actually went to Twitter where he said, to the people who wanted me to make a statement, here it is. What's on the burner account is true. So basically Squimpus is admitting to every little thing that was written on there to be from him and is 100% true. He takes full liability for this, and he wants the victim to remain anonymous, so he's going to keep it that way. And basically on his Twitter post right here, he just wants everybody to stop harassing the victim and for him just to kind of move on with his life and try to learn and get better and learn from the mistakes that he committed. The last video Squimpus had posted on his YouTube account was all the way back on October 12th, 2020, and it was titled 200,000 subs and the future. And basically in this video, he depicted what he planned on doing for future videos. And it wasn't until 3 years later that the burner account came out and exposed Squimpus, and he actually admitted to that. We haven't seen a single video since then, and I don't believe we're going to be seeing any for the foreseeable future. I feel like he's still working on himself, and that's totally fine. What he did was inexcusable and wrong and should never be done to anybody ever, and everybody does deserve a second chance, but I feel like he needs to actually be sorry for the mistakes that he caused and genuinely be sincere and actually never do it again. It's easy to say you're never going to do it again, but actions do speak louder than words, much like what Squimpus said, and I'll believe that when I see that. For now, he's not uploading anything, and I don't expect anything from him for a little while. I'm sure at some point in time you've heard of the artist MandoPony, as he released a lot of Five Nights at Freddy's songs out there. Some of the more popular ones are called Survive the Night, Just Gold, Notice, The Show Must Go On, and Balloons. For a long time, he was posting all these songs and they were getting a lot of traction to them. A lot of people were genuinely enjoying his music. But despite all this popularity, much like Squimpus, he went out to texting minors, and he went pretty deep into here. I don't want to get very deep into anything personal, nor do I want to say any actual names out there, but Andy went on to get a couple of victims that he would be texting, flirting with, and trying to get some illegal pictures from. I'll show some of these screenshots that have some of the conversations that were linked to there. A Twitter user that was named Expose Andy was created, and he posted a bunch of these exposed pictures where all his DMs were sent to the alleged victims of people that he was trying to groom. It is also worth mentioning that Andy was a married man while doing all of this, which is even more of a shittier move besides the fact that he was even texting minors to begin with. Over the time, more and more screenshots of different conversations with Andy were being shown out there, and to prove that it was actually him, there were a couple of photos that Andy took of himself that were not shown on the internet, but you can obviously see is clearly his face. So we know we're talking to the actual person. Some people that wished to remain anonymous that were victims of him spoke out on the incidents that were happening and basically their point of view of a lot of things. Not long after these exposed posts were made, Andy would be kicked out of Kick Heart Records, which is basically where he put all his music that he was most known for out. Despite being kicked out and being accused of so many different things, Andy spoke out from himself and his legal team. Right here, I'll let you read all that. Basically, this comes down to the fact that he was investigated and was proven innocent. Not only did he go here, also almost an entire year later, he posted this saying that a second police investigation was confirmed and saw that nothing criminal had happened. Unfortunately, what really sucks is that it can be kind of easy for child predators to get away with shit on the internet this day and age. So it really is unclear whether or not everything was saying about Andy is a lie or not. Either way, he's extremely controversial and he was kicked off his record label and a lot of other things had happened. So anytime you think of this, you think of the shit that he was accused of. So he's a pretty controversial creator, and I think he was definitely meant for this list on this video. And finally, for the final controversial creator, we all know who they are at this point. It's all been said many times, but you can't make a controversial creator video without adding him onto here, and that is without a doubt Blackout. And just a little disclaimer, there are some sensitive topics that will be discussed throughout this topic of the video, so if you wish to not hear any of that, I completely understand and respect your wishes. And if this is the ending to the video, thank you so much for watching. For those that are going to stick around, let's jump right into this. So, as we all know, Blackout is the creator of the infamous Dormant Abyss game. Whether you love it or hate the game, there are a lot of strong opinions surrounding this game, but the big thing isn't related to the gameplay or anything, the functions of it. It's the mainline story of the game that's very questionable, especially considering the person that is known for Phone Guy. And what caused a lot of people to raise some red flags was this phone call right here.
To be fun, there's this hot 15-year-old that was part of the kid's friends group. You know, it was fun. She screamed, but nobody heard her. It was so much fun. She's in one of the suits now. Just a little more time until Fredbear's is going down as well. But hey, I'll find my ways to catch her at the others.
This was extremely disturbing and downright disgusting. I don't see why anybody would ever feel the need to put this in their own video game, as this is terrible and it's pathetic, honestly, and it's sickening. I'm sorry, I'm getting really pissed off at this. In no way, shape, or form is this ever cool, or is it any way to get around or to make a person look any scarier or more villainous. It is simply made to make you look like a piece of shit. And not long after Dormitabus came out, there was a bunch of controversy that was surrounding Blackout, not only just this little phone call, but also the fact that he was a groomer, a hypocrite, a blackmailer, and a transphobe person. And whenever Blackout came out to try and defend himself, he basically said that the content that was found in the game was from some of his dark, disturbing, twisted fantasies and fetishes that he has. And that it was kind of cool, I guess, to make the villain a R word, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me. And I'm sure by now at this point you know the story of all the bullshit that happened with Blackout and everything else surrounding him. I'm not gonna try to get too much into it because it's disgusting, it's disturbing, and I don't want to really get into it. Just know that Blackout is a very controversial and very shitty creator who created a very shitty Dormitabus game. And that is going to wrap it up for today's video, guys. I'm so sorry if this video was a little bit longer than usual, and I'm sorry if this may have disturbed some of y'all. There are some really sick people out there, and unfortunately they use their platform to do very sickening acts that you wouldn't see on a normal daily basis. So to all the victims out there of any of what was accused, my heart goes out to you. I hope everybody is doing good, and I hope you get better of all the trauma that you are endured from some of these creators. And for everybody that enjoy watching this video, make sure you leave a like, comment down below what you'd like to see next, and if you enjoy content like this, please consider subscribing. I love you guys so much. Thank you for all the support y'all have shown, and I will see y'all in the next one.